Welcome today. Today we're going to be discussing fear in the workplace. Oh my goodness, fear. What a large topic. My mentor, Dr. W. Edward Deming, had a saying, fear in the workplace is so damaging that the cost of it is unknown and unknowable. He believed that fear had damaged more companies, more reputations, and more lives than almost anything in the world today. Imagine that. Imagine the cost of fear. Wow, fear in the workplace. I can tell you I've given hundreds and hundreds of speeches since 1993, since I first started working with Dr. W. Edward Deming. People used to call and ask me, would you please come and give a talk? And I almost always ask people at the beginning of the talk, what would you say if I asked you the question, if your boss wasn't here, are you happy in your job? More often than not, I'm sad to say, that people would raise their hands when I would say, are you happy in your job today? No one would raise their hands. If I said, how many of you are unhappy in your job today? Almost everyone in the room would raise their hands. That's been a consistent phenomenon. So consistent that I would say it's not even a phenomena anymore. It's a reality. It's the way it is. In Dr. Deming's verbiage, it would be called a common cause. Common causes are things that happen so often that you stop counting them, that you realize this is just the way it is, and if we're going to change this, we have to break down the system as it works today and build a new system, because the old system doesn't work. If something just happens once or twice, Dr. Deming would call that a special cause. But I can tell you, I've spoken to so many people in the United States. I don't believe fear in the workplace is a special cause. I believe fear in the workplace is a common cause. And I believe fear in the workplace is getting worse. The way that corporate America is choosing to deal with the hundreds and hundreds, millions of employees that work in our corporations in the United States today is appalling. The management practices are driving more and more fear every day. I just had dinner last week with two friends of mine in New York City who work at a well-known corporation. They were both so nervous. They had so much indigestion. They were both complaining of their backs hurting and their stomachs hurting. They were complaining and they looked peaked and had a pallor about them that I was frankly worried about. When I asked them what was the problem, they told me plain and simply, we're scared for our jobs. The corporation we work for has been randomly picking off people that we don't even know about, and when we come to work the next day, the desk is empty. The person is gone. The person has been given a pink slip and fired. They reach out to their coworker with sadness. They reach out with empathy and grieving, wondering what they could do to help. But they don't feel any better because they're left at the work site. They don't feel better about that. They wonder, when is the next corporate raid going to come through? When are they going to be next? When is their number going to be up? Both of them are female and both of them are over 50. They're in a group of women that are very worried about their jobs today. Very worried about the company. What they told me is that they felt they could lose their job through no fear, through no fault of their own. I said, okay, let me understand this. You could be working as hard as you possibly could, and you could get a pink slip, an unbeknownst pink slip could fly in and take you out tomorrow. Through no fault of your own, and no one would even talk to you and tell you that it was different? And they sadly shook their heads yes. And I said, then why are all these people losing their jobs? They said, because the company purchased too many companies over the last 7 years. During the stock market aggressive growth curve, during the principles of the company being afraid of being left behind by other investors on Wall Street. My goodness, because they bought a lot of companies, because they took on a lot of debt, you could lose your job? Sadly, my friends both nodded that they could, and that they probably would before it was all over. I frankly find that sad and appalling for our country. I travel to China several times a year, and I don't see those practices. Now, you might say to me, oh, you know, you're looking at a communist country. But they could treat their people like that if they wanted to. They're a communist country. Why don't they? They believe in education. They believe in giving their team members the best salaries that they can give them. They believe in helping their team members file money away for a rainy day. They provide savings accounts and funds. They provide counseling for people who are having difficulties. They believe in running a company for hundreds and hundreds of years. They believe, as my mentor, Dr. W. Edward Deming, believed. We are in business to stay in business. That's the goal of an organization. Now, remember from my first blog, I said you might look around sometimes at your organization and wonder, does anybody think anything is going wrong around here but me? Does anything seem to not make sense? That's one of those things that doesn't make sense. Why does America tolerate this practice? Why do we tolerate Wall Street and Wall Street investors making our companies so crazy that we're constantly chasing these ever and ever increasing quarterly earnings targets? That we can never have a bad day, that we can never have a bad month, that we can never have a bad quarter, that we have to constantly buy other companies and get ourselves in debt. And then, oh yeah, by the way, to pay for all that debt and to make the numbers that the investors are looking for, we have to start sending out pink slips to women over 50, to men over 60, to kids who just started in the workplace, who have college degrees, who are bright. They don't have any jobs today. They don't have hopes for jobs today. But guess what? They're the ones creating all this social media. They're the ones that are going to figure out how to have a nice living and how to have a nice life without working in corporate America. But we can change corporate America. We can rewrite the rule book. We have to go and continue to be diligent as employees, as stakeholders, and yes, as shareholders. We have to continue to pound on the sweets of the CEO and the boardroom. We have to stop supporting these companies with our purchases and with our lifetime employment. We have to say to these organizations, we won't work for you and we won't buy your products unless you change the way you do business. And I believe that we can do it. I believe America can be great again. I believe we can have a great economy and we can all do well and we can all prosper, not just a few at the top. Stay tuned for more blogs coming from me that I will help you deal with all these different ways of helping corporate America get better. Because it starts with us, we got to do it. Thanks for listening.